The room had no window. Raymond Briggs had noticed that the first night, lying on the cot his son Derek had set up between two shelving units stacked with inventory boxes, staring at a ceiling with a single bare bulb, listening to the building settle around him. No window, a folding table, a plastic chair, a bathroom down the hall that was also used by the warehouse staff. This was where his family had put him. He was 81 years old. For 37 years he had run Briggs Supply Company, industrial hardware, nuts and bolts and fittings, and the unglamorous essential things that kept other businesses running. He had built it from a single storefront in Akron, Ohio into a regional operation with 2 warehouses and 14 employees. He had signed it over to Derek and his daughter Sandra 6 years ago, when his doctor had suggested slowing down. They had presented it as a natural transition, Raymond staying on in an advisory role, living in the house attached to the main warehouse property that had always been his. What had actually happened was more gradual and more total. The advisory role had evaporated within a year. The house had been repurposed into office space 18 months later, better use of the square footage, Derek had said, and Raymond had been moved into the back storage room temporarily while they found him something more suitable. That was 14 months ago. Nothing more suitable had been found or looked for. Raymond lay on his cot and listened to the warehouse and thought about the storefront in 1987. The first day he'd unlocked that door, the particular feeling of having built something from nothing. He wondered if Derek ever thought about that. He doubted it. Raymond Briggs had started with $4,000 and a handshake. The $4,000 was his savings, every dollar from 6 years of working the floor at a manufacturing plant in Cleveland, careful and patient, the way his father had taught him money deserved to be treated. The handshake was from a supplier named Walt Gentry, who had believed in Raymond before Raymond fully believed in himself. "You've got the instinct," Walt had said. "The rest you'll learn." Walt had been right. Raymond learned, sometimes expensively, always thoroughly. He learned inventory and margins and the particular art of knowing what a customer needed before the customer knew it. He learned that reliability was worth more than price. He learned that 14 employees with good wages and fair treatment worked harder than 20 employees who felt disposable. By 1995, Briggs Supply had outgrown its first location. By 2005, they had the second warehouse. By the time Raymond signed it over to Derek and Sandra in 2018, it was generating enough that his children would never need to worry. He had given them financial security for life. What he had not given them, what he saw clearly now from a cot in a windowless room, was any real understanding of what that security had cost. They had grown up comfortable. They had entered the business already entitled to it. They knew the company as something they had always had rather than something someone had bled to build. That wasn't their fault. That was his, for not making them earn it alongside him. But understanding why something happened didn't make the storage room warmer. He pulled his blanket up and closed his eyes. Tomorrow Derek was coming to discuss the quarterly numbers. Raymond would sit in the plastic chair and listen to his son talk about the company Raymond had built as though Raymond were a minor historical footnote. He had done it 13 times already. Her name was Carol and she had worked for Briggs Supply for 19 years. She ran the front office, invoicing, customer relations, the particular institutional memory that kept a business functioning when everything else was chaotic. Raymond had hired her in 2004 when she was 31 and needed a job, and he had needed someone reliable. She had been both ever since. She was the only person in the building who knocked on the storage room door. She came on Tuesday mornings with coffee, the good kind, not the warehouse machine, and sat in the plastic chair while Raymond sat on the cot, and they talked about the business the way they always had. She updated him on customers, on the inventory issues Derek hadn't resolved, on the small daily things that kept an operation running. Derek didn't know she did this. Raymond suspected Derek would have stopped it if he did. One Tuesday, Carol set down her coffee and said, "Mr. Briggs, my husband and I have been talking." Raymond looked at her. "We have the apartment above the garage. It's been empty since his mother mother passed. It's not large, but it has 2 real rooms and windows and a proper kitchen. She looked at him steadily. We'd like you to have it. No rent. Just, we'd like you to have it. Raymond looked at this woman who had worked for him for 19 years and was now offering him more dignity than his own children had. Carol, he said. I know, she said. You don't want charity. It's not charity. It's 19 years of working for a man who treated me fairly, and this is how I treat people who treat me fairly. She picked up her coffee. Think about it. Raymond thought about it for exactly 1 day. Raymond told Derek on a Wednesday. He walked into the main office, his office once, Derek's now, and sat across the desk and said simply that he was moving out of the storage room and into Carol's apartment at the end of the month. Derek looked up from his computer. Carol's apartment. Above her garage, she offered. Something moved across Derek's face. Not guilt exactly, more like the discomfort of a man who has been shown something about himself that he would prefer not to see. Dad, you didn't have to. Derek. Raymond kept his voice even. I have been sleeping in a storage room for 14 months. That was always temporary. 14 months, Raymond said again. No window, a folding table, a bathroom I share with the warehouse staff. Derek looked at the desk. I built this company, Raymond said. I worked 37 years so that you and Sandra would never have to worry. I signed it over to you freely because I trusted you, and you put me in a room with no window. We were going to find something. When? Raymond said. When exactly, Derek? His son had no answer. Raymond stood up. I'm not telling you this to punish you. I'm telling you because you need to understand what happened here, what you allowed to happen. He looked at his son, 53 years old, his own father's jaw, his mother's eyes, a man who had gotten comfortable in a way that had cost someone else. I hope you think about it. He walked out. In the hallway, Carol was at her desk pretending to work. She looked up as he passed. Raymond nodded once. She nodded back. The apartment had 3 windows. Raymond counted them the first morning. Lying in a real bed, under a real ceiling, light coming through actual glass from the actual outside world. 3 windows. It seemed like an extraordinary abundance. Carol's husband Frank had helped him move his things. Not that there were many. The cot he'd left behind. Everything else fit in the same bags he'd been living out of for 14 months. Frank was 62, a retired contractor, with the particular physical ease of a man who had spent his life being useful. He moved Raymond's boxes without comment and built a small bookshelf in an afternoon from leftover lumber in his garage and set it against the wall without being asked. For your books, Frank said, as if this were obvious. Raymond didn't have many books. He went to the library the following week and came back with 6. He put them on the shelf and stood back and looked at them. It was such a small thing. A shelf with 6 books in a borrowed apartment above a garage. And it felt like more than anything had felt in 14 months. Sandra called on a Thursday. She'd heard from Derek. Dad, I didn't know it had gotten like that, she said. Her voice was genuine. Sandra had always been the more feeling of the two. I thought Derek was handling it. Derek thought you were handling it, Raymond said. A pause. Oh, yes, Raymond said. Oh, she came the following weekend, sat in his real chair in his real room and looked out his real window and said, "This is nice, Dad." It is, Raymond agreed. We should have done better. Yes, he said simply. You should have. In September, Derek asked Raymond to come back, not to the storage room, to the actual office, a real role with a real desk, in the front of the building where the light came in through the windows Carol had insisted on keeping clean. Raymond thought about it for 2 weeks, then said yes, not because he needed to. Carol and Frank had made clear the apartment was his as long as he wanted it, not because Derek deserved easy forgiveness that was still being worked through slowly the way real things get worked through. He said yes because Briggs' supply was his. In every way that mattered, it was still his. His name on the sign, his relationships with the suppliers, his instinct in the inventory decisions Derek kept getting slightly wrong. And because 75 years of working had taught him that a man without purpose deteriorated faster than a man with one. He came in Monday mornings, sat at the desk by the window, talked to the customers who still asked for him by name. There were more than Derek had realized. Walked the warehouse the way he always had, noting what needed attention, saying so directly. Derek listened more than he had expected. One afternoon, Derek appeared in the office doorway and stood there in the way he had as a boy when he wanted to say something difficult. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said, "for the room, for all of it." Raymond looked at his son. "I know," he said. "Build something from nothing someday. Then you'll understand what it meant." Derek nodded slowly. Raymond turned back to the window. Outside, the Akron morning was gray and ordinary, and his name was still on the sign above the door. Some things you build last longer than the people who try to diminish them. Raymond Briggs had always known that. Now his son was starting to learn it too.